Welcome back, and today we're talking about the day I became a god, episode 9. So, like always, let's just jump into it. Episode 9 of The Day I Became a God. It starts off with Hiroto and the security guard catching up to Hina. They're right there, literally right next to them. And we know that Hiroto is thinking that it's very suspicious how Yota, who doesn't have really an online presence, he doesn't get like genius level grades or anything like that. He's like your regular human being, your regular person. How he was able to bring a business that was in financial trouble, bring it back to a successful restaurant, winning that tournament, all these different events that seem amazing when Yota did them. He's suspicious about those activities, right? He actually thinks there's something behind the scenes. He just doesn't know what it is just yet, right? And the thing is, once Hiroto and the security guard kind of caught up to Hina and Yota, everything just went downhill. Now, I will say this episode definitely had its sad moments, but I don't think it was as sad as, for example, the two saddest episodes for me was the one with Izanagi and her father and the video with the mother. That episode, I mean, it almost got me there in the cry level. And then last episode, when we learned about Hina's logo syndrome, her father and all that stuff, that was a way sadder episode than this, in my opinion. But it doesn't take anything away, because I do think this episode is just setting up for the real sadness that's going to come in. I'm telling you, Truck-kun is going to come in for our emotions, and it's going to hit hard. Now, before we jump into the rest of the episode, let me remind you to like and subscribe. It definitely helps the channel out, and of course, I greatly appreciate it. But let's talk about the day I became a god, because episode 9, we see essentially there's a ship. The doctor, Hina's grandfather, he essentially developed a ship, a quantum computer, and he was able to put it inside of Hina's brain. And this computer is essentially compensating for Hina's logo syndrome. Now, Hiroto, he did a great job of figuring all this out. It was awesome. And we also get to learn about Hiroto's life as a kid, his flashback. And it was very, very sad. So I'm sure Hiroto, especially after we found out that they are going to remove Hina's ship and it's essentially going to kill her, that he kind of switched sides, right? We see that when he was a kid. Again, I hate when stuff like this happens, where the parents, instead of protecting their kid, they're abusing their kid while using Hiroto's genius as a computer scientist, computer hacker, using that to make money and like really abuse Hiroto whenever he doesn't want to do it anymore, because it is wrong. Like, if a kid can actually tell that something that he's doing is morally wrong, that should tell you something about the parents who just abuse him and stuff like that. So whenever we saw that Hiroto's parents were murdered, I'm guessing because they were messing with the wrong people and Hiroto did not deliver, and they were murdered, and we see all that blood and Hiroto was laughing. The fact that Hiroto did not call them his parents, I absolutely love that, right? Like, he was actually saying the people that gave birth to him, right? Because there's no way I would classify Hiroto's, people that gave birth to Hiroto as parents, because a parent should definitely not be treating their kid that way. I mean, that scene was brutal. We see that Hiroto has a dark past, and he has like resentment against adults because they have like an inferiority complex, right? Where they actually believe, since Hiroto is smarter than them, that they have to bring Hiroto down, and since Hiroto is physically weak, they can actually abuse him, beat him up and stuff like that. And that's what happened in this episode. Essentially, whenever he was in prison, I will say my theory right now is that even though the security guard is working along with the CEO, right, he kind of did throw Hiroto into that little storage unit to imprison him. He didn't take that device away. So that kind of tells me that the security guard is not 100% bad, right? Like, yeah, he's doing his job. He's working for the CEO, but he's allowing the chance, like a heads up for Hina, right? Because he obviously probably knew that Hiroto was going to warn them. Like, he's a super genius, and he has a computer attached to his little head, like the little device. So he obviously knew he could do some little bit of damage using that. So Hiroto sent that message to Hina's super quantum computer, because he can communicate with it. And I have to say, whenever Hiroto went into the deep web, that whole thing signified the deep web, and him seeing the little fish and all that stuff, it was pretty cool. It was like a good visual representation of what the deep web is, and it was awesome. But yeah, he was able to send that message to Hina. Like I said, I called it. I knew it. The end of the world was not actually the end of the world. It actually meant for Hina. Like the end of the world actually meant it for Hina herself, and she kind of misinterpreted that. And in this episode, she kind of comes to the realization that it was only her that was going to kind of disappear from the world. Her life was going to be the end of the world for her. So I do like this anime, how he set it up at the beginning, right? Because it definitely had me fooled. I don't know if other people were fooled as well, but I honestly thought that Hina had superpowers and that she was a god. And whenever we got introduced to characters that had the same name as gods, I honestly thought those characters were gods as well, because the name Hiroto with the hacker and all that stuff, I honestly thought they were gods. And this was a good little plot twist where really we were kind of overthinking stuff. And if we actually sat down and analyzed what was going on, it would be probably easier to determine that it's not gods doing this. It's probably some type of technology or something along those lines. And that's exactly what it was. So that was a good switcheroo. I liked the little plot twist. But as we did get closer to like around episode 8, we did start kind of noticing that it's actually not Hina being a god. Like we actually do start noticing that. But overall, from episode 1 till now, it was a good plot twist. It makes sense, and I do like it. Now, when all the world governments were sitting there approving the removal of Hina's ship, that was messed up, because again, we're just seeing how evil some humans can be. Like, please explain to me. I would honestly love to know how Hina, having this ship, she's already been here for a couple months, heck, since she was a kid, having that ship inside of her head, and she hasn't done anything evil with it. She hasn't brought nations down with her information. She hasn't done anything that would warrant removing that ship from her head, especially when it has something to do with her survival. Like, I really don't get why they did that, but it's definitely going to set something in motion. And I'm just wondering how Yota is actually going to save Hina, because we see at the end of the episode, all those security guards came for Hina. And even though Hina's friends, Izanagi, I mean, everybody was trying to protect her for her to get away. And you know, Yota breaking down, saying that he loves her, that they're going to run away to somewhere where nobody can get them. Hina knows that's not true, right? When you got the world governments, like everybody of every nation, like the top most powerful people on earth going after somebody, I don't think you're going to get away. Honestly, I hope this anime keeps that that thing going. I hope they don't come in with a Deus Ex Machina where Hina gets to survive this. Because then it's not gonna be sad, right? It's not going to be sad. My prediction for the ending is this. I honestly think that Hina is going to survive. I do think they're going to get the ship out, and her logo syndrome is going to come back. So she is going to die, and I'm guessing her last moments are going to be with Yota. Like, well, we'll see where, how the logo syndrome essentially removes all your muscle activity, your brain activity. You're just laying there, right? Like a vegetable almost. So I'm guessing that's what's going to happen. They are going to remove the ship. Hina is going to die by the end of this. And we're going to see all the characters that she helped kind of come in and talk to her and then kind of let her know that it's okay and pass on. I think that's going to be a very sad ending. I hope they stick by it. I hope they don't do like some type of Deus Ex Machina where they can take the ship out, or some way, somehow they find a way to save Hina. I know it's dark, but I really want this anime to stick the ending, and I don't want something poorly like a Deus Ex Machina coming in and absolutely destroying everything that was built up to this moment, right? Because I'm gonna tell you right now, if Hina has a really emotional death, it's going to hurt. I'm telling you, the emotion truck is gonna come in and it's going to hit us hard. But if they take that away and saying that, oh, here's another ship, and they put it right in and she's safe, that's gonna be messed up. That is going to be messed up. Honestly, I do think more than one character are going to die. I could be wrong about that, but 100% I do think Hina is going to pass away by the end of this anime. We got 3 episodes left. I'm sure they're going to be hard. They're going to be rough. And we'll see. We'll see if this anime actually makes me cry. Overall, great episode. I loved it. I don't think it was the saddest one, but I don't like where it's heading because I know it's going to be hard. But let me know in the comments what you thought of this episode. And like always, leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you on the next episode.